Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I'll be continuing my series on adapting the board game Source of the Nile. In particular, I'll be looking at what happens after a battle, starting with whether the specialists survive the battle or not. So specialists being people like missionary, doctor, zoologist, etc., that you can choose to bring with you on your expedition. So I've set up an expedition and I have gotten into a battle and we won the battle, and that's up to here. I won't talk very much about this text because we've talked about how battles work in particular in the last video, but we've got some new stuff here, which is what I am going to talk about. So it says you've won the battle. We lost a single guard out of 5, and but we won. And then it says testing only. Chance of specialist death is 1 out of 10. And then we see that of the 2 specialists that we had, the missionary was killed in the battle, which is a bit unlucky, and the zoologist survived. So why is the chance 1 out of 10? Well, what I decided was that I would base the chance of surviving on what percentage of guards survived, but then I would halve the chance of death. So we had 5 guards and we lost 1. So 1 out of 5 guards was killed. And so we make the chance of a specialist death half of that, which is 1 out of 10. If you lose the battle, that means that all of your guards were either, in the fiction of the game, it seems to mean that all of your guards were either killed or driven off. So 100% of them died. And so if you lose the battle, halving the chance of death means that there's a 50% chance that any given specialist will die. We haven't yet dealt with what happens to the player character, the explorer character, because that already has rules. What we're dealing with here is I had to make up new rules because you don't have specialists in the original game. Instead of taking a doctor or a zoologist or something, you are a doctor or a zoologist or a missionary. You have to choose one role. But I thought it might be interesting to allow the player to sort of take more than one of these specialists. And so, of course, I had to cover that. That creates a gap in the rules. But for the player character themselves, there is already a table that you roll on to see what happens after losing a battle. So we'll be dealing with that in the next video probably. But anyway, that's the new stuff. It looks like there's quite a lot of text here, but remember, everything that's testing only won't be in the final game. That's just there so I can make sure that the numbers are doing what they're meant to be doing. Out of this whole screen, the actual game would only have that one, and that one. So it would just say the warriors ambushed the expedition, you have won the battle, missionary was killed in the battle. So it's a lot less wordy than it seems to be. But anyway, let's have a look at the text. And it's fairly simple. So we have, as you will probably remember, if the enemies decide to fight you, they either charge you or ambush you. If they charge you, you get a chance to kill them with your muskets, and there's a possibility that you won't suffer any losses, that they either all die or they run away before they come to blows with you, in which case you immediately go to the page after victory. You don't have to worry about seeing if any specialists died because no one on your side died in the battle. If that's not the case, on a charge, then that goes to it's the same as if they'd ambushed you. The only difference between charging and ambushing is that in charging you get this initial round of sort of musket fire. And so if they ambush you, then you will either be defeated or victorious. And in either case, well, if you're defeated, you'll definitely have to see which specialists died, if any. And if you win, you will have to see if any specialists died, if any guards died. So unless you win a sort of bloodless victory. So how do we do that? Well, we have because the procedure is basically the same, just the odds are different. We don't put the code in the defeat and victory pages. We have a separate page, so we only have to do it once, and then we use the include command to refer to that page. So the page is called Specialist Death. Let's have a look at defeat first. It's fairly short. We just have the message, you've lost the battle. We have set Z equals 1 and Y equals 2, then include Specialist Death, then include after defeat. That's where we will roll to see what happens to the game will simulate rolling to see what happens to the explorer. So what does Z and Y mean? Well, each specialist's chance of dying is Z out of Y. So if you've lost the battle, each specialist's chance of dying is 1 out of 2. And now let's look at victory. Again, it's quite short. You have won the battle if EX5 is less than Z2. EX5 is the number of guards that you currently have, and Z2 is the number of guards you had at the start of the battle. So that's saying if you have less guards than you started with, or in other words, if any guards died in the battle, then we set Z equal to Z2 minus X5, and we set Y equal to 2 times Z2. So let's do an example of that. Let's say we had 10 guards to start with, and 3 die in the battle. So that means that Z2 will be equal to 10. And in fact, I'll just zoom in to make this a bit easier to see. Okay, so we're looking at the possibility that we had 10 guards, 3 died in the battle. Z2 will be equal to 10, and EX5 will be equal to 7. So we would set Z, because of course if 3 die, well 10 minus 3 is 7. So we set Z equal to Z2 minus EX5, so that's going to be 10 minus 7 is 3. And then we set Y equal to 2 times Z2, so 2 times 10 is 20. So the chance of of any given specialist dying is 3 out of 20. So 3 guards out of 10 died, meaning that each specialist has a 3 out of 20 chance of dying. So the assumption is that the specialists sort of hang back and let the guards, do most of the fighting sort of thing. And then we go to this page, or we include this page, and we just have testing only, chance of specialist death is Z out of Y, so just to let me know when I'm testing it. And I've got this comment. Well, the comment says exactly the same thing as this, and the reason for that is when I don't need the testing only messages anymore, I'm going to go through and get rid of them. So I've got this comment which is going to stay, because I still want people to be able to read that comment to follow what's happening if they happen to look at the program. So we have a for loop. In fact, the rest of the page is this for loop, and it goes from 1 to c.length minus 1, and it increments by 1 each time. That plus plus means x equals x plus 1. What is c.length minus 1? Well, C is the array that has the names of the different types of specialists. So it's a string array. It has doctor, missionary, zoologist, biologist, anthropologist, and so on. And setting it to c.length minus 1 means that it will go to however many entries there are in that array. In other words, it will look at every entry in that array. Then we have this question. If px is equal to 1, then we execute this code. P is the array that tells you which specialists you have. So I'll give you an example. Oops, sorry. Okay. So, for example, the third slot is anthropologists, as you can see in the C array. If P3 is equal to 1, that means you've got an anthropologist with you. You've only ever got one of each. Oops. So if Px equals 1, then we do all the stuff that's here. We set W equal to a random number between 1 and Y. And then if W is less than or equal to Z, they have died. And if that's not the case, at least during the testing phase, we say testing only, and we give the name of the type of specialist, and we say that they have survived. The reason for that testing only is just to make sure that it goes through every entry in the array, which it does seem to be doing. So, an example is let's say that we've determined there's a 3 out of 10 chance of each specialist dying, which might happen if we had 5 guards and three of them had been killed. Then it will generate a random number from 1 to 10, because it's 3 out of 10, and generate a random number from 1 to 10, and if that random number is less than or equal to 3, then that particular specialist has been killed. And if you think about that, of course, if you generate a random number from 1 to 10, your chance of getting a number that is less than or equal to 3 is 3 out of 10, because if you get a 1, 2, or 3, then that triggers, and the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 don't. So the odds are, it is doing what the comment says it should be doing. So if they die, it's fairly straightforward. We set Px equal to 0, and we give a message saying that they were killed in the battle. And if they survive, we don't do anything except during the testing phase we give them this message that says that they survive, and then in the final game that won't be there, so I'll probably delete those 2 lines, and it'll just be if and /if. It won't be if, else, /if. And so that is how we determine whether a specialist dies. And so the next thing we need to do is what happens after the battle, and that depends, of course, on whether you win or lose. So we have an after victory page and we have an after defeat page, and that is probably what we're going to look at in the next video. But for now, I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.